Shalom Aleichem, Rabbi Krakowski. Shana Tovah U'Metuka v'Chatima Tovah.
Aleichem Shalom. Gmar Chasima Tova. Good gebencht Jahr mit alles gut.
Amen. All the good blessings for the new year. Be'ezrat Hashem, we're going to be sitting down ototo to a Seder Rosh HaShana, where different opinions. Do you do it after Kiddush but before Hamotzi? Kiddush, Hamotzi, and then the Simanim? Blessings for, not blessings for. Maybe tell us the OU's opinion and.
I mean, we sometimes we like to avoid getting too involved in other halachic shilas other than kashrus, but I think that the prevalent Ashkenazi minhag is to do it after Hamotzi. The reason to maybe do it before has to do with the fact that you're going to be making ha'etz for the fruit that aren't usually part of the meal. Something that Hamotzi covers everything which is part of the meal. So you have soup, you have fish, you have different items during your meal, but you don't usually eat fruit at the beginning of your meal. Therefore, fruit you'd have to make another bracha on, which is if you do the Simanim after Hamotzi, you still are going to make a bracha of ha'etz. And if you make a bracha, whenever you make the bracha of ha'etz, and you have different fruit, you're going to have to be makbid to use one of the Shiva Saminim, one of the 7 species that are particular to Israel, which some of the Simanim are of those. So you're going to have to make the bracha on that and only do your tapuach bidvash, the apple dipped in honey,
At the end.
afterwards. Right. It doesn't have to be all the way at the end, but either take your rimon, your pomegranate, or your tamar, your date,
But
but
even in that, the olive goes before the date.
Correct.
And the date goes before the grapes.
Correct, unless you prefer one over the other. If you prefer one over the other, then you can. Maybe that's why some people aren't so makbid and have the apple with honey. Maybe they just like that.
Maybe they like the honey more than the apple.
Could be. So anyway, so that's about that. And, in any event, you'll end up making the ha'etz. The difference is if you would have it before Hamotzi, you're going to have to make also ha'adama for the simanim that are ha'adama.
So basically, it's to gain another bracha.
Correct. And, if you don't have enough brachos on Rosh HaShana, you need your kuf brachos, your 100 brachos, your 100 brachos. So
take some and make it an extra psalm. Now, the real question when it comes to the simanim are bugs, because we know that many things today are unfortunately infested. Even though when you're buying things with the OU, you're buying things with other serious hechsherim, you could pretty much rely on the fact that they have checked that out. But considering we mentioned the date, where do we stand with the date?
Okay, so it's actually interesting. There's 2 different types of dates that people will use generally for Leil Rosh Hashanah. You can use the fresh dates, the nice little yellowish dates that, especially here in Israel, they're popular. Fresh, straight off the tree, and it's easy to peel. The peel's a little bit rough. You kind of, you can just peel it off with your fingers almost.
We should tell people, don't eat it when it's hard. You have to either put it in the freezer and then take it out and let it soften.
For all the Olim Chadashim, it's important for
exactly the Olim Chadashim or people that are in Israel for the first time and see, wow, there's a date. Yeah, it doesn't taste good. Don't eat it that way.
The peel certainly doesn't taste so good, and when it's hard, it doesn't taste so good either.
Right. So is there a problem with bugs with the yellow date that they're buying on the stem?
So the same problem of bugs that you can have with the yellow dates, you can have with the majul, like the dry dates, which is probably what most people in the diaspora are using because that's what's more readily available there. Some people here use it also. Some people tastes very sweet, and in the Arab culture, they generally have it with their coffee instead of putting sugar in. You take a bite of the date,
or the tea,
or the tea, correct? But you take a bite out of the date, and a sip, and back and forth, and that sort of thing. So it's the dry dates are really kind of sweet. When you in theory, the dates are usually relatively bug-free. With the fresh dates, it's going to be less common for there even be any bug infestation, unless you got cheap quality, which is always going to be the case with almost any fruit or vegetable, that you buy. It doesn't even have to be things that have particular bug issues. You're often going to have bug infestation in the very low quality stuff. That's why it's low quality. The higher quality stuff really should be relatively bug-free. Even the dry majol dates should be relatively bug-free. When we check here in the packaging plants that we certify, we find that 99 point some % of the dates are bug-free. what happens is that on the shelf they can develop bugs. Those now, for both the fresh dates and the dry dates, the way you check it is you open it up, kind of you cut it into two halves, and you can leave it connected on one side, and then you pull out the pit from the middle. There's the pit lies almost perfectly in the center. You pull it out, and you're going to look around to see if there's webbing, because especially in the dry dates where you're more likely apt to having infestation, which comes from leaving from the shelf life. It's left on the shelf. You have it in some store. You buy it in some store in Queens, and it was on the shelf there for
a year.
Last Rosh HaShana. Okay, it could have developed bugs over the course of the year. But what the types of bugs that end up in the dates create this like webbing around the seed. So you pull it open.
It's pretty easy to identify.
Right, and that's what you're looking for. And if you can't really identify it, it's probably fine, because a bug, to be a problem, needs to be near a le'inayim. It has to be something which you can identify with the naked eye. Otherwise, when you breathe in, you're breathing in dust mites, but nobody told you not to breathe. Yet. But, so that's really what you're looking for. And again, any fruit or vegetable, and this is important for all the simanim that are eaten raw, because once it's cooked, you're not going to be able to check it all that well.
Right.
But anything which you're eating raw, it's always important that if you see a dot, and that dot, you can either identify legs on it, the anatomy of a bug, or you can see it moving. Then you have to. Then you view it as a bug. If it's a dot that you can't decipher anything on it, so if you put it under a microscope in a laboratory, you might see that it has some. That we're not concerned about, because that's not near a le'inayim. Doesn't have the anatomy of a bug in a way that you can identify it. But if you can, so if you notice a dot, take an extra second, look at it a little bit carefully, see if it moves, see if you can see maybe a little bit of legs or something like that. And if not, you can rinse it off just for cleanliness sake, but good to go. Te'avon.
Are there any other siman that we have to be worried about? Rimon, generally speaking, is...
Right, so that's kind of like, eating an apple at home. That if you look on the outside, you don't see any holes for a bug having burrowed into it. It should be fine, especially because you're eating the seeds in it. So you kind of, after you tap out the seeds, I'm sure there's good videos online for how to get the seeds out easily, then you'll be fine.
And I would say the last thing we should talk about is probably leek.
So leek is important before you cook it. I think most people cook it before they eat it as a siman. And before you're cooking it, again, because it's a leafy vegetables tend to have bugs, but because it's a very chalak, it's a very smooth surface, it's easy to kind of just wash off and check more superficially to ensure it doesn't. But if you buy here, and it's one of the ones that are coming from especially grown place, it will give you instructions on the bag exactly how to prepare it according to halacha.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Rabbi Krakowski, and Shana Tovah U'Metuka. Thank you for all the great work that you do for making sure Klal Yisrael eats kosher food from Eretz Yisrael.
Thank you for making sure we have an Am Yisrael to feed kosher food for.
Shakach.